I want to start with a little bit of the Schadenfreude, if I could. This is something that, from a morning standpoint, I should increasingly be doing. But the RNC stuff that's been going on is particularly wonderful to watch. Who'd have thought that the installation of Lara Trump as the campaign chair, as the co-chair, and I guess she's the campaign finance chair, kind of semi. I don't even know if they have a fucking organization at this point, is it? But they the news just keeps getting better. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you. This is from a New York Times article today. Trump aides taking over RNC order mass layoffs. It is 8 months till the election. It is 8 months away, and they are just firing everybody. And again, part of me, you guys know this, I have notes. I will always have notes. I will always look at a situation like this and go, why? And wouldn't it be better if, right? I think that's my natural reaction. That's your natural reaction. Any sane person would go, that's what a stupid fucking idea. But quite frankly, I don't give a shit. If the DNC was doing it, I would freak out and make a lot of phone calls. But since they're doing it, I'm like, shit, I got a free day. I don't have to make any fucking phone calls. If they're like, my goal is always to rise up the Democrats. I'm not there to tear down Republicans, but it's sort of equidistant at a certain point. If they're going to tear down Republicans, I'm not going to stop them. I can't be more invested in the health and function of your party than you are. What the fuck is that? So I just happen to love this. Okay, but there was a particular part of this article, not quite the not quite the third paragraph, but part of this just stood out to me. This part right here. Days after allies took over, fucking relatives, all right. Allies took over the Republican National Committee. Donald J. Trump's advisors are imposing mass layoffs on the party, with more than 60 officials, including senior staff members, laid off or asked to resign and then reapply for their jobs, according to two people familiar with the matter. One second there. Yes, if I may. Laid off or asked to resign and then reapply for their jobs. Now, we all know that the phrase deep state is really just an attempt to sexify bureaucrat. Bureaucrat is what they're talking about, like unelected government officials that have been installed, maybe stay there through multiple administrations, multiple changes in parties, and these bureaucrats tend to exert more control. Kings of small kingdoms, as it were, sitting there out, their careers outliving the elected officials around them, who instigate like a mini fiefdom around whatever segment of the government they are in control of, right? And so bureaucrats, the bureaucratic and the bureaucrat, everything's got to be in triplicate, not because the elected officials want it, but because the friggin' bureaucrats make them, right? They want to rub, and you got to stamp everything and have multiple comments. The bureaucracy, the Gordian knot of bureaucracy. But nobody gives a shit about bureaucracy anymore. Because it just doesn't sound like that macho a term. It sounds like you're whining about nothing. And also, there's a certain expectation of most thinking people, adults, know that a certain amount of at least duplicates, like most of us, you can always tell somebody new when they sit when they get dinner at a restaurant and they're picking up the check for the first time and they see the copy for you, the copy for themselves, and then maybe there's one that doesn't have a signature thing on it at all. You see, it's in triplicate. You know what I'm talking about? When you're sitting in a restaurant and you see the receipt comes in triplicate. There's a version with your signature. There's a version that's a copy with no signature on it. That's the one you keep because it's exactly the one you signed, and you get an unsigned copy of it so you know what you had. And then there's a version that if you want, you can, I guess, keep, and you can, most people, that's for expensing, right? That doesn't have any of your pay information or your signature area on it. It's just the one you give to when you expense it to your business or something, or you put it in the file for that, right? It doesn't have to have all that extra fucking paper. Just what it was, what and when, and what you ate, and where it was, and what time of the day, and all that shit, and the amount, right? That's all that matters. So there's 3 of them. That didn't happen. Fucking nobody immediately went, I can, I'll give it to you, and you give me a credit card, and you just sign it, and then off it goes. And then somebody gets like, they double their like the tip on it. They turn the 1 into a 7 sometime, and they're like, holy, wait a second, I want a copy of what I got from you exactly, so I can go. I didn't write that. There's not even room for that. I wrote it like this, and so I'm keeping a copy. And my boss wants a copy, but I need one for my taxes, to show that I expensed it. Part of it's for me, and this is the part that goes to the business. I scratch off the part that my boss isn't expected to reimburse me for. That I give to them, and then I paid my own drinks or whatever the shit. So that all happened over time. It evolved, to use a word that irritates Kirk Cameron. And there's a certain level of bureaucracy to that to that exchange that has happened because of people being thieving assholes or forgetful, or somebody asks you for a copy of something and you just don't have it, and it happens enough where they make a copy, and it's always part of it, and it just happens, right? That's, yeah. So it all works its way out over time. And so most of the Republican Party seem like the assholes, like, why is there 3 copies? Can I just sign one? And you're like, dude, you're going to want a copy of what you actually signed in case something goes wonky. And, and the first time it doesn't, and you should have. Right? That's got it. And then the other one, when you go, oh, my boss needs a copy of this, whatever. That thing. All right. They're all they seem to be fucking new. But what they complain about all the time is the bureaucracy. Oh my God, in business, there's bureaucracy. Everywhere you look, there's fucking bureaucracy. There's the deep state wants you to blah, 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 right? And then once they get a hold of the RNC, what do? They do the most, like, wasteful, boorish, ridiculous way of handling HR. They lay them off. Whatever. That's fine. Fire them. I thought the whole laid off. Fuck off. Aren't they the you're fired family, right? Isn't that Trump's whole fucking thing? You're fired, right? So fucking fire everybody and hire the geniuses, right? That seems like logically what you would do if you were anywhere close to what this asshole has been selling everyone for years, right? But they lay him off, or ask to resign and then reapply for their job. So we might rehire you, but we got to remember why you were here in the first place. Sell yourself to us, big guy. What a waste of fucking time. If they're worth keeping, you'd know. In theory, right? And if they're not worth keeping, you'd know. In theory. So why the fuck are you asking them to reapply? You don't know. Here's a good idea. How about Lara go through everybody, do interviews with everyone, review everyone, and lay them off based on it. Just go, I met with everybody in the senior staff, like 120 people, and as I went through them, we just kind of went yes, no. We had a yes and a no pile, and we just kind of kicked people to the curb if they weren't sufficiently ready. I'll tell you why they didn't do it. I'll tell you why. Because the whole you're fired bullshit is a lie. Because they're all cowards. And they don't even have the guts to fire these people directly. They lay them off. Maybe it'll come back later. It's just a money thing. We're not raising the kind of money we need, considering most of the money's going into Trump's fucking gullet. And they don't have the nerve to just fire people straight ahead, because it's bullshit. He's full of shit. She's full of shit. Even the people that are loyal to Trump, that are supposed to be his mouthpieces, he can't go fire that person and they go, you're fired, and that's that. It's so fucking weak. It's really bizarre. Okay, so next thing that I particularly liked. So the TikTok bill passed the House today. So it's a divestment bill. They have to the Chinese company ByteDance that owns it has to sell it to another company that's not linked to the Chinese party, or it's going to be banned in the States. Now, whether it'll pass the Senate, I think it will, but the Senate, Biden has already said he will sign it if it comes to his desk. And I'm for it, and it's very smart. And everybody, like the fucking ridiculous people who are like, all these poor people, if it wasn't for TikTok, they wouldn't even have a job. I'm like, motherfucker, okay, look, I stream on every possible platform in case one of them goes down. So the idea that you're even talking somebody into putting all their eggs in one technological basket is fucking dumb. So, meanwhile, Trump originally tried to ban TikTok, if you'll recall. You guys remember this? He was all up in it. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't. And now Biden's ready to sign this bill if it gets to his desk, and Trump all of a sudden is fighting it. Super fucking weird. Why would that be? Like, why? What? After all this China virus bullshit, and you can't try, and China's our biggest enemy, and Biden's owned by the Chinese and all that shit, you would think he would look forward to the chance to cut into any of China's bottom line, or at least not want to look like he's running interference for them. That would be yes. Okay. Washington Post article from yesterday. Trump's growing antipathy towards Zuckerberg, and this is what they write it off as well as advocacy and lobbying from several former administration campaign officials tied to a GOP billionaire with a big financial stake in TikTok parent company ByteDance. Yeah. Helps illuminate the former president's position on the video sharing app. Yeah, let's look at that part again. This bit. Hold on, I gotta shrink this in a little bit. I'm gonna bring this guy in. Yeah, there we go. A little better. There you go. Yeah. Officials tied to a GOP billionaire with a big financial stake in TikTok parent company ByteDance. Really? Also, by the way, the guy who, the lobbyist who works with them, and Kellyanne Conway's been lobbying on behalf of ByteDance, and she's the one, and like, didn't he fucking hate her at one point? And she's one of the people who convinced him to do this, like to back it and say that, oh, there's a lot of people, you're gonna alienate a bunch of, yeah, it's fucking malware. Get TikTok off your phone. It's a terrible idea. Switch to another thing. Go to YouTube Shorts or Reels or Instagram or fucking Snapchat. It's an American company. It's available on the stock exchange. It's basically the same thing. Fuck, somebody bring back Vine for God's sakes. Again, TikTok's not even fucking original. And it's always on. Even when you tell it not to listen, not to use your camera when like, it does. Like, get it off your phone. Yeah, I've been talking about this till I'm fucking blue in the face. And finally, it's coming to a vote. Right? Yeah, remember everybody loved Vine, and then it got sorry, yeah, Kellyanne X Conway. Good point. Excellent point. Sorry, chat room. It's true. But she literally lobbied him and said, you got a lot of your users will use this, and they love you on there. Just total fucking ego blow that they're throwing his way. Like, oh, a lot of your supporters are on there, and they talk a lot about how much they love you on TikTok. And like, then they'll go someplace else. What do you think? The fucking feelings are site specific? The only reason you would want that on TikTok is because the algorithm would favor you. That's what that means. That's what her argument means. It's what that GOP billionaire who's pushing it means. All right. So, regardless, the anti-TikTok bill passed today, 352 to 65. And there was a mix of, a few Republicans, because Trump told them to vote against it, and a bunch of Democrats who, I got to say, like, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. Anybody, by the way, any Democrat who was outside with groups of people going, my constituents love and use this, and they wouldn't have any other way of making a living online if it wasn't for is bullshit. There's dozens of outlets. They're all monetizable. It's nonsense. Anybody who says that is the most it's the most egregious example of direct payments to as far as lobbying that I've ever seen. Ugh. All right. Now, the idea is that Trump's big fear is that Zuckerberg, who he calls Zuckerbucks, which is again an anti-Semitic slur that Mike Pillow uses. He's talking about what if Facebook buys TikTok. Okay, first of all, they don't need to buy TikTok. And if they bought TikTok, they would just fold the users into Reels, and that would be that. It's the same shit. There's no value point other than the user base that they would kind of usurp, right? But it's still not going to be the same. The system itself, the manufactured algorithm is the problem, right? So this is pretty hysterical considering. According to the Washington Post, Trump asked Elon Musk if he wanted to buy Truth Social last summer. The idea went nowhere. That's chapter 3 of Art of the Deal, though. Your best ideas will go nowhere. But the former president and the billionaire ex-owner have continued to communicate more than was previously known, which is just him asking. It's funny. He's like, I'm not going to contribute to either campaign. Was the storyline? Right. That was Elon Musk coming out and saying he's not going to donate to either. That doesn't mean he's not going to loan Trump money for his legal bills. Have you checked into Truth SPAC? Yes, the special acquisition company. We've talked about that a bunch. But again, he has to be bought out of this or buy his way out of it, or he won't be able to post on other sites during the campaign personally. That's the other thing. This dumb motherfucker, if you don't believe he was, one of the reasons why I thought he wasn't running for real before he got noticed the indictments were coming, and that's why he decided to run. One of the reasons I knew that was originally his plan was because he corralled himself on Truth Social instead of just going everywhere else that would have him and then fighting his way back to being on Facebook or Twitter later. He just went, okay, I don't need you guys. I'm taking my ball and going home. And home meant to this rando, low-res version of Parler run on the Mastodon structure, which he didn't pay for initially. It still isn't. Okay, that's why it's called Truth Social. If you'll notice all the Mastodon sites, a lot of them will be something .social. That's why it was called Truth Social, because they built it on the Mastodon architecture. It was a social platform, and the original name of it was Truth.social. It was going to be Trump.social, and then I guess somebody had already taken that and made a fucking Reddit thread out of it. But either way, the money's not coming. Now, meanwhile, and then I'll get to our clips tonight. Let me shape up, and this is I gotta say, I'm gonna slide right into this next little piece of info because I just found it so wonderful and so in line with exactly what I've been telling you folks. This is this piece that this little detail. Haley, after she dropped out, got 77,000 votes in Georgia in the primary. 20,000 of those she got on election day, on the day of the primary, by people who were voting on the day of the primary, after she had dropped out. 20,000 people voted for Haley, even though she was no longer in the race, after she had dropped out. 20,000. Trump lost Georgia last time by 12,000 votes. Do you understand? Add that little chunk up, kids. Let me tell you something. The whole, the polls have him way ahead, the polls way. Shut the front door. Nonsense. Yeah, 11,780. Exactly. Rounding it up just for shits and giggles. Those 77,000 people decided a while back. They knew by the time this was, coming around, even in the early voting in the Georgia primary, that more than likely she was not going to be the nominee. He was ahead. So they still voted for her, even beyond the 20K that did it as a fuck you on election day. The other 57,000 people that voted for Nikki Haley, a good portion of them voted as a protest vote to tell him to take his shit and go someplace else and never want to see you again. Those folks, this is probably at least 30 to 50% of them that are not going to vote for him. On top of that, I would argue that nearly everyone, if not all of them, plus of that 20K on election day, because you got to consider the people who didn't vote at all because the numbers are way down in the Republican primaries, because those are people who are like, they're so disconnected from it, they're like not even going to bother to tell him to go fuck himself. They're just like not going to show up on the day. But these are 20,000 people who got up on that day, went to a polling place to participate in a primary to tell Donald Trump to kiss their ass. Yes, she had already dropped out at this point. But I would argue again that when these folks voted, it was kind of understood she wasn't going to beat him. She was, it would be a way outside the realm of possibility, but they still did it. And again, he only lost Georgia by 12K last time. If half of these people don't vote for Trump this time around, or even Biden, just sit out, he's done. That's Georgia. And there's every reason to expect that everybody who voted for Nikki Haley, the entirety of them, right? The 57,000, the others aren't going to vote for him either. Yeah. That triples the distance between him and Biden from last time. And that's consistent everywhere. Just saying. And so to anybody who doubted me about this, I appreciate you. I see you. But I also want you to be aware that I don't say these things lightly. I do not just roll in and say this stuff just to hear myself talk. I'm telling you that I'm reading the actual reality. There you go. Can I see you through those glasses? Yes, I can. You betcha I can. You know I can. But I don't need them. But maybe I do. All right.